This is Idaho News 6.
Fresh off his first criminal conviction for trespassing at the Idaho State Capitol, Emmett resident and anti-government activist Ammon Bundy is moving forward with his efforts to unseat Governor Brad Little. Bundy, by his own admission, has a long history of capitalizing on exposure from high-profile standoffs with the government and law enforcement. The latest pales in comparison to his standoffs with the FBI in Nevada and Oregon. Our Roland Bear sat down with the now gubernatorial candidate Bundy to talk about his controversial past that led him to Idaho and a date with the ballot box.
We're talking here. Will you go downstairs?
Sitting with Ammon Bundy at his house nestled against the base of the Emmett foothills.
Will you go downstairs and play somewhere else?
Some of his 6 kids playing in the background. It's hard to imagine this is a man who led armed standoffs with the FBI.
Snipers on the hills, threatening my family, threatening my nieces and nephews, literally with their sniper's rifles.
That was the first standoff at his father's ranch in Nevada in 2014. The Fed said Ammon's father, Cliven Bundy, grazed his cattle on federal land and owed more than $1 million in grazing fees. Bundy argues the law didn't apply to his family and calls it government overreach.
So then why does everyone else pay the fees and go about their business?
I think that's the right question.
All charges against the Bundys were eventually thrown out for prosecutorial misconduct. Still, the nationwide attention was clearly a revelation to Bundy.
We also have a lot of work to unwind the claims that the federal government has upon this land.
In 2016, he took over the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in eastern Oregon for one reason: to bring attention to the convictions of 2 Oregon ranchers for setting federal land on fire.
And Trump only pardoned 17 people. And 3 out of those 17 people were people that I advocated for. And so absolutely, it was to get enough attention to the Hammonds that justice would be brought to them.
Ammon Bundy moved to Idaho 6 years ago from Arizona, and the pursuit of publicity for what he says is a federal government out of control continued with the onset of the pandemic. Only this time, he was upset with the state government, saying Idaho Governor Little was overly influenced by the feds.
This is one of the most conservative states in the country. It's probably one of the most conservative governors in the country. That's going to be kind of a tough sell, isn't it?
That's an easy sell. Just go look at the finances. He took $10 billion, almost $10 billion for COVID relief from the federal government.
Of course, no states, no matter how conservative, declined the initial coronavirus stimulus passed by President Trump. Bundy says the governor also went too far in shutting down the state and other restrictions, although he admits the governor never imposed a mask mandate. But after more than 2,000 deaths in Idaho and more than 600,000 nationwide, Bundy still does not entirely believe in the pandemic.
So you don't believe there was a pandemic?
So I believe not, certainly not in Idaho.
And he says he still has not received the vaccine.
Do you think it works? Do you think it is a medically effective tool to protect people?
My personal opinion is no. The right way to answer that is it's unknown. And because of that, that's what makes it so dangerous.
Get his phone. Excuse you?
Bundy was arrested several times at the Idaho State Capitol protesting what he calls government overreach during the pandemic. But the nationwide attention that he got this time would aim the spotlight directly on himself.
So why do you want to run for governor?
I don't want to run for governor.
GR.
I am running for governor, yeah, but it's not out of a want.
A reluctant politician running against a traditional Republican in a party that doesn't even want him. The odds may be against him, but then that's nothing new to Ammon Bundy. Roland Barris, Idaho News 6.
Despite his lack of traditional political experience, Ammon Bundy expresses plenty of confidence in his chances of taking the state's top job. Bundy told our Roland Bears that Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin doesn't stand a chance against Governor Little because she's not, quote, polarizing enough. We asked Bundy why he organizes protests at people's homes, sometimes with torches.
Ammon, you're going to people's homes and their kids are crying in the windows because they're concerned about their safety. Don't you have any compassion for a family?
See, you're pretty good. You want to make it look like...
No, I'm telling you what it is. We know what was going on.
So listen, let me answer you.
If someone did that to me, man, I'd be pretty upset.
Well, let me answer you. If you want an answer, I'll answer.
Yeah, I want an answer.
Okay, so how many how many homes did that councilwoman go into? How many homes did her decisions affect?
We'll have much more with Ammon Bundy throughout the day. Tonight at 6 o'clock, hear more from Bundy about his run for political office and whether he even believes that Idaho has experienced a pandemic. Then tonight at 10 o'clock, Ammon Bundy discusses his specific goals for the state should he win the election. You can catch those stories and more with Bundy at our website, idahonews6.com.
This is Idaho News 6.
Ammon Bundy says he's the reluctant candidate for governor. The anti-government activist says he doesn't want to run, but he feels he has to. His party has disowned him, and he's lashing out at the other Republican candidates who he says don't stand a chance. So, how does Bundy plan to win? Our Roland Barris talked to him about his chances.
When you've survived 2 tense, armed standoffs with the FBI, running for governor might seem like a walk in the park. Still, Ammon Bundy says he'd rather not.
I don't want to run for governor.
You are.
I am running for governor, yeah, but it's not out of a want.
Bundy is best known for standing up to federal agencies, but after the coronavirus started killing hundreds of thousands of people, he directed his frustration at restrictions handed down from the state level to protect Idahoans.
Most people refused, and it didn't change the numbers. It didn't cause us to have the pandemic in which they're claiming.
Idaho has suffered 2,167 coronavirus deaths and nearly 200,000 cases, while the nation suffered the loss of 605,140 deaths so far. We will not comply! In opposition to coronavirus restrictions, Bundy staged protests outside the homes of public officials and police, a move those affected called reprehensible. Bundy says he had no other option.
How does that help your cause? I mean, what it does to a lot of people in their minds is it makes you look like a bully.
Well, I think if you unwind it all, you'll see that what we're trying to do is actually come to a peaceful solution.
Yeah, but Ammon, you're going to people's homes and their kids are crying in the windows because they're concerned about their safety. Don't you have any compassion for a family?
See, you're pretty good. You want to make it look like...
No, I'm telling you what it is. We know what was going on.
So listen, let me answer you.
If someone did that to me, man, I'd be pretty upset.
Well, let me answer you. If you want an answer, I'll answer.
Yeah, I want an answer.
Okay, so how many homes did that councilwoman go into? How many homes did her decisions affect?
If he becomes governor, Bundy says he's okay with people protesting outside his house, so long as they stay on public property. Outside of the current governor, Bundy's top competition is expected to be Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin.
There's no way Janice McGeachin can beat Brad Little, but there is a way I can.
Why do you say that?
Because it takes someone polarizing. It takes somebody with good name recognition.
McGeachin's not polarizing.
No, not to the extent that she has to be. It takes someone who the people will know will fight an establishment.
Speaking of the establishment, the Republican Party of Idaho doesn't like Bundy. GOP leader Tom Luna issued this blistering statement after Bundy announced his candidacy. It reads, "We do not support his antics or his chaotic political theater. That is not the Idaho Republican Party, and we will not turn a blind eye to his behaviors."
Did it hurt your campaign?
Actually, I think it only helped us. Absolutely. I see it as the very same thing, kind of the same battle, if you will. The Republican Party needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be, in some ways, exposed. And it needs to be put back in the people's hands and to start benefiting the people rather than the establishment.
Idaho is Donald Trump territory, but Bundy does not always see eye to eye with the former president, especially on the coronavirus vaccine.
He touts it as one of the biggest achievements of his administration, to get it out there fast and to save lives. So you don't believe that?
No, I don't.
It's good enough for the President of the United States.
Well, that doesn't say a whole lot. I mean, look at Bill Clinton. I mean, I guess Monica Lewinsky was good enough for him, and he's the president of the United States. I mean.
And if you think an anti-government activist would support those who held an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, think again.
I think there's a lot of confused people there on January 6th.
Proof once again that there's more than meets the eye with the Ammon Bundy we think we all know. Roland Barris, Idaho News 6.
Ammon Bundy has made his reputation fighting the federal government, but how would he continue that effort if he became Idaho's governor? Coming up tonight at 10, Roland Barris continues this conversation with Bundy. Hear what he has to say about specific plans to take over Idaho's federal land and why he thinks illegal drug use should not be prosecuted.
A lot of those people, like it or not, they've learned how to function with their drug habit. Okay. Mm-hmm. They've learned how to function. They and like it or not, I feel that they should be able to continue to function until they do something, and then you punish that.
Bundy also believes the county sheriff is the ultimate law enforcement official, taking precedence even over the FBI. See what Bundy says about why he refused to listen to the sheriff over in Oregon, who asked him to leave the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Tune in tonight at 10 o'clock. Plus, you can catch these stories and much more with Ammon Bundy at idahonews6.com.
Emmett resident Ammon Bundy has big plans for Idaho. The anti-government activist is running for governor to change just about everything from taxes to executive orders surrounding coronavirus.
Yeah, our Roland Barris talked with Bundy and explores the changes he might make if he manages to unseat Governor Brad Little.
What would Idaho look like with Ammon Bundy in the governor's seat? Bundy's website lists 5 changes, including outlawing all abortions no matter the circumstances. And while the official Republican Party disowned Bundy, it is traditionally the self-proclaimed party of law and order. But if Bundy has his way, illegal drug use will get a pass.
They've learned how to function with their drug habit. Okay? Mm-hmm. They've learned how to function. Like it or not, I feel that they should be able to continue to function until they do something. And then you punish that.
Bundy says we're putting too many people in jail, many for drug offenses.
I think we have to go kind of back to where we came from, which is a restitution-based penal system rather than an incarceration-based penal system.
Bundy wants to put the savings from fewer prisoners into mental health programs to help Idahoans suffering from drug abuse and other related issues. But perhaps the most significant proposal is also the least surprising, putting federal land under state control.
Basically, the state needs to take control of the lands. The state would designate what is public and what can be used as private.
But how? But when it comes to the specifics of how the state would take over federal land, especially if the feds push back, Bundy offers nothing.
It would be the state's duty to stop that. And that's what needs to happen.
He says the county sheriffs are the chief law enforcement officers, taking precedence over even the FBI.
Stand up, stand your ground, stand up, stand your ground.
But if that's truly the case, Bundy showed little respect for the chief law enforcement officer in Harney County when he commandeered the wildlife refuge there in 2016 to protest the arrest of 2 ranchers who set fire to federal lands.
And I'm here today to ask those folks to go home.
The sheriff there said, it's time to go. You need to go home.
Correct.
You believe that's the ultimate, law enforcement authority, but she didn't go. Why not?
Well, I wasn't breaking any laws. I was bringing a tremendous amount of attention, national, even international attention, to a situation that was completely unjust.
Ammon Bundy may have been acquitted of all charges associated with the Malheur Wildlife Refuge standoff, but 18 of his followers were convicted or pleaded guilty to everything from trespassing to conspiracy. And one, Lavoy Finicum, was shot to death by police.
It has a great effect on me. It was a terrible thing that they did.
In your mind, it's a straight-out murder.
Absolutely.
Although the Malheur County District Attorney found the shooting of Finicum was justified, Bundy says it shaped his opinion of police.
There are some times where things go wrong or people do the wrong thing and they need to be held accountable. I guess you've seen it firsthand then.
Yeah.
Is that your point?
Yeah, and they killed a friend of mine in the process.
But Bundy says he will judge police on their merits and is not interested in defunding them. Roland Barris, Idaho News 6.
And you can see all our stories on Ammon Bundy on our website. That's idahonews6.com.